Senator Hanson for the second time.
Thank you. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Senator Wong. Would the Minister please explain to the Australian people and I what net zero emissions actually means in layman's terms?
Thank you, Senator Hanson. Minister.
I'm not sure how to explain it other than to say it means net zero. I mean, you know, I think, and I understand that the senator. It's one of those situations. I'll think through if I can provide an explanation that makes it clearer than that. But to me, the words net zero are quite clear. I think we all understand what net emissions means. I am reminded of a time when I was Climate Minister and I think Senator Fielding wanted an explanation, and I got in the Chief Scientist to try and take him through it. And we did get to a point where I thought, I don't actually know, and neither did she at that time, how to break it down any further. But I will have a think about that. I think it's a commonly understood objective, and it's an objective that, as the senator knows, that is shared by those opposite, I thought.
Before you go, there's something even more surprising coming next. The next clip reveals what they didn't want Australians to notice, and it's already changing the political landscape. Stay with me. Make sure you're subscribed.
Maybe not. Well, obviously not Senator Canavan, I know that, but the coalition, I thought broadly, had agreed to net zero emissions by 2050. Well, maybe Senator Canavan is indicating a change in policy under the coalition, under Mr Dutton. Obviously, I think it's 84%. I could be wrong. Australia's exporters have export markets have already signed up to the same target. It was discussed at the G20. So there's broad global agreement about the need to.
Minister, please resume your seat. Senator Canavan.
Thank you, Madam President. Just on relevance there. The question was clearly about the definition of a term. It's a very simple question, and now we're talking about what other countries are doing and signing up to. It's totally departing. It's got nothing to do with the original question.
Minister, did you wish to continue? Senator Wong, have you finished your first question? The answer. Senator Hanson, first supplementary.
Well, actually, I'm gobsmacked from the first answer. I don't know whether I should actually ask the second one. Now you got me. Now, all right. Well, then, how much will the government policy to reduce emissions by 43%, which you don't know what net zero is anyway, by 2030? I would really like to know how much it's going to cost the government by 2050, but I doubt I'm going to get an answer on the first one. But if you can answer my question, how much is it going to cost the Australian taxpayers for this reduce emissions by 43%?
Please resume your seat. Minister.
Thank you, President. Thank you to Senator Hanson for.
Now here's where things get even more interesting, because what happened next completely changed the tone of the debate, and most people completely missed it. Stay with me. Make sure you're subscribed.
The question, and she may be aware that the Labor Party in opposition did model this 43% reduction by 2030 policy and issued the modelling transparently, and that modelling showed that the plan, which includes a 43% reduction, would in fact create 604,000 jobs, with 5 out of 6 new jobs to be created in the region, that it would spur $76 billion of investment, and it would deliver an 82% renewable energy by 2030. So I think what we have seen is generating capacity exiting the energy generation system over the life of the government of those opposite. And that reduction in supply without new capacity coming on stream is central to why power prices
Thank you, Minister.
are doing
Your
what they are
time
doing.
has expired. Senator Hanson, second supplementary.
How is the government's plan to bring more than 1 million immigrants to Australia in the next 5 years consistent with efforts to reduce emissions?
Thank you, Senator Hanson. Minister.
Well, I think Well, first, I'm not sure about the figure, but we have, as a result of the Jobs and Skills Summit, indicated 195,000 places, and that is as a consequence of the capacity constraints in the economy and the skills crisis that we know from talking to business, and if you look at the data, exists. But the focus will be on permanent skill migration, and that will add to the capacity of the Australian economy. It's important to recall that one of the things that we all have to do, and Australia will have to do, is to ensure that the link between GDP and populations and emissions that they are delinked. And that we can continue to grow our economy in ways that don't continue to produce as many emissions. And the way we do that is by these sorts of investments in renewable energy that our plan will deliver.
Thank you, Minister. Your time has expired.
Pauline Hanson stood up and asked what should have been the most basic, straightforward question in any climate discussion. What does net zero actually mean in simple terms? Not technical jargon, not policy language, just something ordinary Australians could understand. And what came back from Penny Wong was not clarity. It was hesitation. You could hear it. The pauses, the repetition, the uncertainty. It means net zero. That was the answer. No breakdown, no real-world example, no explanation of emissions versus offsets, just the same phrase being repeated back, as if the question itself had already answered everything. And that's where the moment started to unravel. Because this wasn't just about one answer, it was about what that answer revealed. Instead of simplifying the concept, the response drifted. Suddenly, we're hearing about past experiences, chief scientists, previous attempts to explain it, even an admission that at one point it couldn't be broken down any further. Think about that for a second. A policy that affects an entire country. And even at the highest level, there's difficulty explaining it in plain language. That's not just awkward, that's revealing. Then came the shift. Rather than answering the question, the conversation moved outward. Global agreements, the G20, export markets, what other countries are doing. The focus changed from, what does this mean, to everyone else is doing it. But that doesn't answer the original question. And that's exactly why Hanson's response hit so hard. I'm gobsmacked. Because in that moment, she wasn't just reacting. She was highlighting the gap between policy and understanding. A gap that millions of people watching can instantly recognize. Then she pushes again. And this is where the pressure really builds. If the definition isn't clear, then what about the cost? How much is this going to cost taxpayers by 2050? Again, a direct question. Again, something people genuinely want to know. And again. No direct answer. Instead, the response pivots into projections. 43% emissions reduction, 604,000 jobs, $76 billion in investment, renewable energy targets, all big numbers, all impressive on paper. But notice what's missing, not a single clear figure for the cost being asked about. It's the same pattern repeating itself in real time. A simple question, followed by a complex answer that avoids the core issue. And then, just when you think the exchange couldn't get more layered, Hanson introduces another angle. Immigration. If emissions are the concern, how does increasing population fit into that strategy? It's a question about consistency, about whether these policies align with each other. And once again, the response shifts. We hear about skills shortages, economic capacity, workforce needs, all valid points, but still not directly addressing the contradiction being raised. Instead, the answer leans on a broader concept. Separating economic growth from emissions, growing the economy while reducing environmental impact. It sounds good in theory, but the key issue remains. The original questions never received clear, direct answers, and that's what makes this exchange stand out. Not because of shouting, not because of chaos, but because of what didn't happen. No clear definition, no direct cost figure, no simple explanation, just layers of language, redirection, and political framing. And in moments like this, people don't just hear what's said, they notice what's missing. Because if a policy as important as net zero can't be explained simply, if its cost can't be stated clearly, then it raises a much bigger concern. Are these policies being communicated in a way people can truly understand? Or are they being presented in a way that avoids scrutiny? And that's the real takeaway from this exchange. So now the question turns to you. After watching this, do you think this was just a difficult question to answer on the spot? Or does this moment reveal a deeper problem in how major policies are explained to the public?